Jane, are you good?
Yep. I'm gonna go with
Debbie, are you ready? Guys all ready? All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, and we'd like to welcome you to the board meeting. I'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Our meeting is live streamed, and you can join us online by going to our website. Other viewing options are available at tctvonline.com. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is being called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Okay, Debbie, is there anybody? Uh, well, first I want to welcome everybody on my guest list if you'd like. And then I'd like to have Rachel lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, now, Debbie, is anybody signing? No. Okay, great. And we have no non-agenda items. We're going to begin with the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Well, that's nice. Okay, moving on to legislative administrative. Agenda item number 6, consideration of a personal services agreement with Caldwell Sales Consulting for ballot processing, scanning, and support services. Christy Nices, our county clerk. Good morning.
Good morning.
Being joined by Deborah.
I'm joined by Deborah. I asked her to be here so she could talk the money part. So before you for consideration this morning is a personal service agreement with Caldwell and Associates to purchase a vote by mail ballot sorter. And with that comes automatic signature verification. The automatic portion isn't like it's not going to say, oh, the signature matches 100%. That's not what we're using it for, but we can dial in the accuracy. And so those are the components. It will scan or return envelopes and batches, extract the signature automatically, and then it links with our statewide voter registration system for our aiding in signature verification process. And it creates audit logs and reporting and reduces repetitive manual handling of the ballots because we are stuck circa early 2000s on how we process ballots. And it's very time consuming. And just for some numbers for you from the May election, just a snapshot, we spent $1,730 in the May election for 2 election workers to spend 29.5 hours apiece sorting all of the ballots into precinct order. And then we spent another $721, which is about 41 hours of signature verification. So by purchasing the machine, we'll be able to eliminate those items from each election, and they would average at about $1,700 it would save per election. And that's about 25% of what we paid for our temporary election workers in salary. So that just kind of gives you an idea. So it's about 25%. It's probably the most labor-intensive step, like I said, and as you know, the more human hands that you have on things, the more chances there are for error. And that's mostly in you're unbundling, you're using like a grocery store scanner, one of the wands, and you are scanning the barcode of every single ballot. And I don't think people realize that that's what we do. And if we have a turnout of, 15,000 ballots, it's 15,000 times that we are having to manually scan. And the scanner allows us to automate that process so we can just really be more intentional about, it's more secure the way that, not secure, but that's not even the right word. I'm sorry. But I think the way that we process and the way that the information comes in and out, it just will streamline it a lot more for us. So that will help. And I'm open to questions. I asked Deborah to come to talk about the financial part of it. The total cost is $33,680, and that is for 2 years, and that's the equipment, and then the first 2 years of signatures and the maintenance.
Yeah, so this is an investment in efficiencies, as Christy said. It will require a supplemental budget if approved. We currently have 6,000 in the elections clerk budget, so we would need to increase that for approval on that. I would estimate that you're gonna save more than $1,700 per year annually. I was looking more in the 3,000 range. And that's year over year as we improve those efficiencies with the machine.
And we can amortize through our election billing. So after every election, within a certain amount of time, we have to conduct a billing process. And then for the districts that do pay for elections, which as I mentioned before, it's just our small special districts that pay. Cities very rarely, the county very rarely, but mostly county, state, federal, and cities don't pay for elections. So we're able to amortize over 10 years. And each year we say, okay, well, in year one, this is the number of elections that we think we'll have. This is our registered voter, what we think our turnout will be. And then it gives a cost apportioned to each ballot, and then we can attribute that to the billing and recoup. It's not going to be 100%, but it would be mostly in the May of odd-numbered years, or if there was a special election that was called where we could bill one of the other districts, when we'd be able to recoup some of that at that time as well.
Questions, comments? Commissioner Scar?
I love efficiencies, and I think maybe one of the pieces you were looking for is just we can reduce the opportunity for human error, right? Because if you're the one that's going beep, 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 and two of them stick together, there it goes, right? And then you have to go back and find that because the person calls and said, where'd my ballot go, right? Where if you're putting them into a machine, hopefully that would just help with some of that. So, I mean, I love that concept. Where we can really make it easier for you to do your job. I think that's what we've been asking directors to bring to us, are places where we can be efficient, are places where we can move into the 21st century, things where it's, we're caught up. We're using the best practice technologies out there. So I really appreciate that. I think the questions on the flip side of that are, I realize this is a capital investment, which hopefully we will amortize over a long time, but I'm sure there's a question out there on a small district's mind or another, like how much per ballot do you foresee it going up? When we talk about that, is it consequential and significant for those who are paying?
Not substantial. I mean, I think the last time we amortized was when we purchased the tabulator, our ES&S 850. And that was $125,000 but we financed that and we amortized that over 10 years. And so it added probably maybe $30 to $40 per election to their bill. It was about that. So it would probably be under 50. But yeah, and as a cost, we had to go out for 2 other quotes, but speaking to vendors at conferences, we know that the large ballot sorters like Blue Crest and from TriTech, they're massive pieces of equipment that they would take up half of the room that we have our tabulator in right now, and they're over $150,000, and we would never be able to afford that when something like this, especially for our voter registration numbers, this would be really great for us, for our county size. We don't need something so big that costs so much, and then the annual maintenance every year would be a lot.
Right. So the last question, you mentioned that cities don't typically pay for elections. So can you say just a little bit more about that for anybody who's, again, listening and watching and going, why? What's that?
The Oregon law says that the state doesn't have to pay for elections. The state doesn't so federal government doesn't pay for elections. They also don't fund elections. The state doesn't fund elections. So counties are the ones that fund the elections out of general fund. And also within the state law, it says that cities don't have to pay either. But there's those off elections where you can call a special election, like recall elections. Those do have to be paid for by the cities.
Thank you. I just appreciate the answer to the question because it was in my mind. I'm sure it was in somebody else's mind. So appreciate that.
Commissioner Blow?
Thank you. I do have a few questions. I support the use of technology for the same reasons Commissioner Scar just said. Makes perfect sense to me to use a machine to do barcode scanning, zip code scanning, precinct scanning, all of that kind of stuff. It makes perfect sense. And it's a little embarrassing to know that we have been doing that for the last 25 years by hand. So good job bringing us current. I was wondering about the way the cost breaks down. We're investing in the equipment and then we're also investing in an annual service fee. How does that work?
Yeah, so we have our annual maintenance costs, so our PM costs, so personal maintenance on the machine. And then the signature verification part of that, so the software that captures the signature off of each ballot and links to our voter registration system, we pay by signature, by the number of signatures we're capturing. And so that's what the annual cost is for.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And like Commissioner Scar, in our meetings, I try to anticipate the questions the public might have. And I think some of the questions imagine we'll get are about, how much confidence do we have in the accuracy, in the integrity of the system? So I'm sure you've done that research and maybe there's an accuracy number you can share with us.
So when I say automatic signature checking, I don't mean that the software looks at that signature. It also compares it against what's in OCVR and it does a quick match. So when we go and we run the ballots through, they get captured, and then we go to OCVR, which is our centralized voter registration system. We go to ballot processing. We're going to bring up a batch that links to what the sorter has scanned. It brings up the image from OCVR, so the voter's signature that we have on file, and then the signature that was captured off the back of the ballot return envelope. So they're both together on the screen, and it just kicks up some yes or no, like green or red, and it says there's green, yellow, and red. And green with the software says, oh, hey, yeah, we think this is a good match, but we're still looking eyes on each signature. It's just that we're not having to do the physical labor of all of that. So you're able to just do signatures side by side. We're all forensically trained by the FBI forensic signature verification training that we do every year. And it has the signatures there. We're able to look at them and say, yes, they match. Anything that they're not sure of, they can mark unsure. They go up and then we audit them at the administrative level before they get processed through all the way. Does that answer?
Thank you. That's very helpful. Yes. So we're not strictly relying on the machine.
No, not at all. Never.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, and Chris and I have spoken about this particular thing, another election integrity and security stuff. And I just want to say that for the public, if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact Christy. You can email her go to the county website and get your email, and they can ask you any questions.
100%. Anytime.
Perfect.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
I know the federal government is looking at changes to election process, and I know that there have been challenges to Oregon's vote by mail. Is this a machine that's helpful either way? So if people have to come and do their work, come and vote in person, if the federal government's able to move forward that change that they're seeking, would this still be a useful piece of equipment? Would we still?
I would assume that we would still have to follow some of the same processes, which we would have to get the ballot. I would assume they would return them to us in an envelope, which then we would then process through, and we still have to verify signatures. And since I wasn't working during polling place elections, it's hard to imagine going backwards so far to do that. But I would assume we would issue a ballot, they would have to sign, and we would have to still verify and scan it in. So, yes.
So yes,
I
it's
believe so.
either way, it's a tool that we need.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And I know I'm asking conjecture because we don't exactly know, but I know that it's a possibility that there will be change.
Good question. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Ready for a motion. All right. Well, Mr. Chair, where to go? In consideration, where am I at? In consideration of a personal services agreement with Caldwell Sales Consulting for ballot processing, scanner, and support services, I move approval.
I second.
Hearing a motion in a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Deborah, for coming.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so today we have a weird day. That's pretty much it for the regular stuff. And now we're going to, we do at 9:45 have a time-specific second public hearing for the Bay City and Tillamook Fire departments. So that will happen at 9:45, but before that, we are going to recess this regular meeting to go into executive session under County Council.
Mr. Chair, we're going to be going under ORS 192.660, parenthetical 2, parenthetical F, consider of information and records exempt by law, and also under ORS 192.660, parenthetical 2, parenthetical H, consultation with counsel on current or upcoming litigation.
Thank you, sir. We will recess this meeting at 9:16 a.m.
Morning. Thank you.
It's hot.
I do.
You're warming, so you better make it stop warming.
I'm in the same boat.
AC on?
There you go. Doesn't pay. So. All right. Did she give you the thumbs up already? I didn't see her.
I did not see a thumbs up, but we are recording.
Thumbs up. All right. We are coming out of executive session. We will be reconvening our regular Board of Commissioner meeting at 9:48, and we will immediately be going into a public hearing. So let's just start that. Beginning this public meeting concerning, this is the second public hearing concerning an order in the matter of approving the formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue Rural Fire Protection District, adopting notice of elections to refer to the voters in the election of May 19, 2026, the measure for formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD and establishment of a permanent tax rate. Isabel Gilda.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you mentioned, today is our second and final public hearing. The City of Bay City and the Tillamook Fire District have submitted resolutions petitioning the Board of Commissioners to initiate the proceedings to form a new district which would encompass the areas now serviced by those two districts and would be named, as you mentioned, the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD Rural Fire Protection District. The proposed Rural Fire Protection District would be located entirely within Tillamook County. The City of Tillamook, as a city within the district, supports the petition from Bay City and the Tillamook Fire District and has submitted certified copies of resolutions to the board doing so. The Board of Commissioners will hear the petition, they heard the petition a couple of times, but they'll hear the petition and determine in accordance with the criteria prescribed in ORS 199-462 subsection 1 whether the area being proposed could be benefited by the formation of the district. When reviewing a petition for a boundary change, the Board of Commissioners will consider the following items: local comprehensive planning for the area, economic, demographic, and sociological trends and projections pertinent to the proposal, prospective physical development of land that would be directly or indirectly affected by the proposed boundary change. An economic feasibility study was submitted, which considers whether the district would improve operational efficiencies, staffing stabilities, training consistency, and long-term financial stability. A map was also submitted that shows the area that will be served by the new district should it come into existence. The map has been authorized as sufficient by the Oregon Department of Revenue and Wendy, our county cartographer. And everything required by statute has been submitted to start the initiation process. And that initiation process started on December 10th, 2025. The Board of Commissioners voted via Board Order 25071 to start the initiation process for the formation of the new district. And in December, that board order also set the date for the first public hearing on January 14th of 2026 at 9:45. The board order in December set out the proposed tax rate of $1.49 per $1,000 of assessed valuation. It also acknowledged how employees and assets would be transferred, how debts would be assumed, and directed that a notice be posted for a public hearing before this board where it would hear oral and written testimony and decide whether to approve the formation. And again, staff were directed to notice the hearing according to the ORS 198-800, and they did so. I publicly, personally noticed in various places around the county. So that board order set out the first public hearing for January 14th, 2026. And at that hearing, the Board of Commissioners heard public testimony and considered the criteria under ORS 199461 subsection 1 to determine if the area benefited the formation of the district. After deliberation, the board determined the petition met the requirements criteria under, again, ORS 199462 subsection 1. And the board voted via Board Order 26003 in the matter of approving a preliminary order approving the formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD Rural Fire Protection District. And in that order also set the date for the second public hearing for February 11th, 2026, which is today. So again, it's our second and final public hearing. So based on the results of today's hearing, if the board approves, the formation of the new district is subject to the following proposed items and conditions as set out on the board order before you today. And I believe you have copies of that order. And so the board order is, the conditions are voter approval with the questions presented at the May 19th, 2026 election, the concurrent voter approval of the dissolution of the existing Tillamook Fire District. The effective date, the order forming the new district will take effect on June 30th, 2026 at 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it also set out that employees subject to the provisions of ORS 236605 to 236640, the employees of the City of Bay City Fire Department and the Tillamook Fire District shall be transferred to the new district. And lastly, the debt distribution. The new district will assume all fire protection related debt obligations of the City of Bay City Fire Department and the Tillamook Fire District. The City of Bay City has an outstanding municipal loan for $63,000 for fire apparatus. No other long-term debt obligations will be assumed by the new district. And so that's the formation process, and the dissolution, the fire district will file a resolution to initiate their dissolution of the fire district separately with the clerk's office.
Did you skip over the asset transfer part?
Oh, did I? Okay, so let me read it. The asset transfer, in addition to the debt distribution, the asset transfer, all real and personal property and other assets of the Tillamook Fire District and those assets of the City of Bay City necessary for provision of fire and EMS services shall be transferred to and become the property of the new district, together with an interest in the fire station real property sufficient to continue operations. Thank you. As I mentioned, the dissolution process, the fire district will file their resolution separately with the clerk's office. And
Thank you.
after the election is certified, there'll be a fourth and final order, since it's order number 3, a fourth and final order that will come before you for the final district formation or dismissal, depending on the election results. So it's up to the voters at this point.
Great. Thank you.
For you to move forward to the voters for the election.
Great. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Scar?
So do you want any questions? And we have the
I do not have any questions for Isabel, thank you.
City of Bay City and the fire chief and
Okay. We do have some people signed, maybe there's nobody signed up online, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we do have some folks in here that have signed up for public comment. County Council, would you announce the rules on public comment, please?
Yes, Commissioner. Good morning. If you'd like to comment, please make sure you've signed up to do so. When you speak, please begin by stating your name, where in the county you reside, and who you represent if you're not speaking on your own behalf. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes and keep them related to the matter currently before the board. And please also direct your comments only to the board and not to other county personnel or those in attendance. And lastly, it would be helpful if you could state whether you are for, neutral, or against the matter on which you will speak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, to start off, Casey Burton, would you mind coming down? Yeah, last time your father-in-law left early. Last time your father-in-law snuck out early, so we're gonna keep you here for the whole
I'll
time.
probably sneak out early
Ah,
too, but,
Okay,
okay. My name is Casey Burden, and I reside in Tillamook. I'm currently the Tillamook Fire Board Chair, and I am for this matter. So I have been a member of the Tillamook Fire Board for the last 2 years. Through the years working closely and advising the Tillamook Fire District, I have witnessed the immense dedication, sacrifices, bravery, and support our local firefighters have committed to our local communities. And now they've come to us as community members asking for our support in return. A ballot measure to unify the Tillamook Fire District and Bay City Fire Department is a much-needed move for both of our two communities as the call volume and population of both areas continues to increase. Each fire organization has put in many hours and continues to do so of research and collaboration to come to the recommendation to bring both departments together. I kindly ask that the commissioners allow for the proposed measure to be added to the May ballot and allow for voters to show the support for our local responders.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the hot seat, Casey Fagan. Could you state your name and if you're representing anyone?
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Casey Fagan. I'm a community member and a father of a volunteer firefighter in the district, or what will become the district. I live just outside of Bay City, so in the county, but right up against the border there. I'm in absolute support of this measure. I think the system we have today is deteriorating. Folks have put in a lot of hard work in order to come up with what seems to be a great plan to point us in the right direction to move forward and continue a sovereign system. Putting this ballot on the measure for the people to vote is, I think, the right thing to do. And it will help support staffing, which right now a lot of that is done by volunteers. So actually support that up so the district can move forward in doing the things they should be doing rather than responding always half a second late to community needs and resources and that kind of stuff. So appreciate you guys' time and hopefully you'll approve all this.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, Chief Hesse, Rockaway. Please state your name and your organization, even though I just did.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Todd Hesse, and I serve as currently serve as the Fire Chief, City of Rockaway Beach, and I'm here to speak in support of the measure. So I've served in the fire service now for 6 years in Tillamook County, and I currently hold the position of the Tillamook County Fire Defense Board Chief. So in that capacity, I've had the opportunity to work with both Tillamook Fire District and Bay City Fire Department. I bring about 39 years of fire experience and observed, I'd say, some substantial changes in that time with the structure of funding of fire departments, between the increased operational costs and the constraints of the revenue sources. They placed a lot of pressure on the long-term viability of individual agencies. So as a result, consolidation and unification have become proven mechanisms for maintaining reliable and effective emergency services. So I would say, based on my experience, I support the proposed unification of the Tillamook Fire District and Bay City Fire Department. Establishing a unified district would strengthen long-term sustainability, improve service delivery for residents of Bay City, Tillamook, and the surrounding rural communities. Placement of this measure on the May 26th ballot would provide voters with the clear opportunity to support their local fire service, ensure adequate resources for continued public safety operations. For these reasons, I respectfully request the Board of Commissioners to approve placing the measure on the 26th ballot and establish Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue District. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Chief. I failed to mention that these comments should be about 2 minutes long, but everybody's doing great, so I didn't feel like I had to police that too much. All right, moving on, Kathleen Baker. You can state your name and if you're representing any organization. You can put that up. These
Doesn't go up
chairs,
very far though,
these chairs,
so.
we were gonna do one whole meeting this way.
We were, yeah.
Right. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time today. My name is Kathleen Baker, and I'm a longtime Bay City resident. I currently sit on the City Council for Bay City, and I am a member of the Tillamook Bay Fire Rescue Steering Committee. I support both the Tillamook Fire District and Bay City Fire Department and their collaboration in bringing this proposal forward to unify to one fire district. In my 10 years' experience on City Council and the months of planning with the steering committee has given me great insight. Our communities need this. The idea of forming a combined fire district with our neighboring fire departments has been in the works for many years in Bay City. We understood the need to secure long-term increased funding and combined resources that would give a district the ability to hire more career firefighters, maintain and purchase new equipment and apparatus, lessen the burden on our dedicated volunteers, and give them a stronger support system. The creation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue District would build a strong foundation to provide long-term sustainability for fire protection and emergency response that is desperately needed. The proposed rate that comes with the unification would ensure that the district would be able to pay a living wage for a sufficient number of staff to respond to an ever-increasing number of calls and provide them with reliable equipment, and it's something we cannot afford to go without. This is a move in the right direction and is long overdue. For these reasons, I am asking Tillamook County Board of Commissioners to vote to approve a measure to be placed on the May 2026 ballot that would allow for voters to create Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue District.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, last on the list is Jason Sterling.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jason Sterling, Battalion Chief, Tillamook Fire District. I, of course, am for this new district. I've been with Tillamook Fire District for 27 years in a role as a firefighter, 18 of it as a fire line officer, currently serving as a battalion chief. As the majority of my adult life has been spent in the fire service to this community, I can say that the proposal before you is years of work in the making. I'm hopeful for the chance to ask our community's support because a new fire district would be a game changer for our local area, fire staff, and volunteer firefighters. One thing I've learned over the years is that firefighting isn't just a job. Whether it's volunteer or paid, it's a calling. With that calling comes lost family time, fatigue, sweat, blood, and sacrifice. Like the firefighters who came before me and the peers that I proudly serve alongside today, we understand that sacrifice and are willing to give it every day, sometimes at a great personal cost. A unified district would increase paid day staff and has potential for a strengthened volunteer corps at night. All of each would alleviate some of the personal strain the two fire organizations are feeling. A new fire district could also generate a tax rate that could sustainably plan for dependable equipment. The price of gear and engines continues to climb, so in order to provide technology that is effective and keeps us first responders safe, we need to ask voters for support and to invest in our firefighters now. As a volunteer firefighter, I've dedicated my life to this community and would love nothing more than to see this proposal head to the May ballot so that we can ask for our community support. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Is there anybody that did not get on the list that wants to say something? Chris, could you state your name and?
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Chris Wilkes. I'm a contractor here in town. I'm in support of this, but I'm looking at it from a perspective that maybe a lot of people don't look at. As our county and community develop and we grow in housing, the fire department's part of the main piece of the puzzle in our infrastructure. We can't go up above 3 stories because we're a volunteer fire district. The more full-time firefighters that are put on, it allows them to do high-rise training. It may give us the opportunity in the future to be able to increase our height levels. I think this is an important thing. I don't know why it hasn't happened already, so we'll support, but from an outside perspective.
Thank you, I appreciate that perspective. All right, folks, with that, if there's no one else that wants to speak, I'm gonna go ahead and close this public hearing at 10:07 a.m. And now I will offer up agenda item 8, which is consideration of an order in the matter of approving the formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD, adopting notice of elections to refer to the voters in the election of May 19th, 2026, a measure for formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD and establishment of a permanent tax rate. We can now deliberate. Commissioners?
I enthusiastically support this. I think it will be a great solution. It's much needed. I appreciate what Jason Sterling said about this represents years of work, and I am indebted to the people who have worked on this, not only the people who serve in the fire service of both Bay City and Tillamook Fire, but also the people who've worked on this process. It's been a long time coming. I think it's a great solution. I hope the voters see that as well and support it. And I'm very thankful for all of the people who've been involved in the process to date. And I hope that you will continue to be involved in the process as it goes, assuming we approve this today, as it goes to voters. I hope that you will be sharing this message out in the community with voters also. So bravo and good luck, and you have my support.
Great. Commissioner Scar.
Perfect. And I am also in support. I'm sorry I was not able to be here for the last hearing, but I have read all of the materials, and to me, the case is clear that this is something that will benefit our community, and every single one of the folks who is here that works in the fire service will be better able to do what they do, and I have the strongest support for that. Some of you know my son is interim fire chief in Jefferson County, and Jefferson County went through a similar process not long ago, and so I had the opportunity to watch that from the inside as he was doing the work to prepare for that merger, because they actually merged with EMS, so it was a little bit different. But I know the work that everyone who did this study and did these cost projections and did all of that, it was hours and hours and angst. Because it's hard to find that right number. And I appreciate, as my colleagues do, everything that went into this to make something that's absolutely right for our community today and going forward. So just great appreciation and 100% support.
I echo both my colleagues say. Also, for me personally, I look out and I see several faces that when I moved to this community in 1995, they were my introduction to the fire service, and then I've worked with them over the years as a firefighter, as an EMT, and as a police officer. And I'm just amazed at the work that was put into this. I really appreciate the effort, and appreciate the effort of the steering committee, and the community support of your first responders is unprecedented. And I mean, this is an amazing thing we have here in Tillamook County. I believe this is a well-needed solution to an ongoing problem. I appreciate everybody's input, and I 100% support this. So I am ready for a motion.
All right. Mr. Chair, in consideration of order number 26-005 in the matter of approving the formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD Rural Fire Protection District, adopting notice of elections to refer to the voters in the election of May 19, 2026, the measure for formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD, and establishment of a permanent tax rate, I move approval.
I second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion? I will call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that's about the end of the meeting. We do have board concerns, and then I'm going to read some things. You're free to leave if you'd like. You're going to miss a story.
Yeah, you want to pause a second and give them a chance to Bye, Paul.
See you, Paul. Take care, everybody. Thank you. That's all right.
You could stay.
If you both stay, we have a double hamburger for lunch. Come on.
Oh, that was bad.
All right. We're just waiting for the room to clear. Yes, they're getting waved on by my staff. Please. Thank you, Alan. Okay, board concerns. I want to hear your story.
So Paul asked me to share in board concerns the story of the top emergency chef contest, which I participated in last night. It was very funny. The Emergency Volunteer Corps of Nehalem Bay has this top emergency chef contest that they do annually. They invite 3 guest chefs to participate. It's like a cooking show. And we had to prepare an entree in 20 minutes and a dessert in 20 minutes from entirely shelf-stable ingredients. And also no water and no heat. So basically just canned stuff and dried stuff. And if we used liquid, it had to be shelf-stable liquid. And so it was a lot of fun. My fellow contestants were Mayor Denise Donahue from Wheeler, and she won. So congratulations to Mayor Donahue. And Manzanita Police Sergeant Mike Sims, who's also the Manzanita Emergency Manager. It was at the Pine Grove in Manzanita, and it was a sold-out event, standing room only. They were turning people away, and it was really fun and goofy and creative, because because we had to be creative with those ingredients. So Mayor Donahue's winning dishes were, she's Italian, and she made, her food was beautiful, actually. So we didn't get to taste each other's food, but she could have won on looks alone. She had prepared lasagnas, individual lasagnas for the judges. There were 3 judges. So we prepared 3 servings each for the judges and an additional serving that they auctioned off so somebody in the audience got to eat it. And so she made 3 little individual lasagna servings with cold ingredients, and she used for the pasta, she used tortillas, clever,
Okay.
and she used tofu, some kind of tofu mix that was like faux mozzarella, and the judges really liked it, and it really did look nice. She had like a little lasagna container. It looked nice, and then she also served deconstructed cannoli in beautiful like champagne glasses. She obviously practiced her presentation, and I don't know how she did that. I heard her say lemon pudding and canned milk and crumbled up cookies, and also she may have plied the judges with limoncello, and so she deserved to win. Her dishes were beautiful. My dishes were, they looked okay, but they were not nearly as beautiful as hers. And I made, I started out thinking, okay, what would I like to eat? Because that's always my goal. Like I want to cook or bake something that I personally would like to eat. And I love a salad niçoise, the French tuna salad. And so I thought, could I make a niçoise out of these ingredients? And so I practiced out of my brother. It was not very successful. He was like, this is not really working. So there were a couple of elements there, the tuna and some pickled green beans and white beans. He said, these are the parts that are good. And so from there, I completely changed it up. So I chopped the salad, I mashed the potatoes, I chopped the salad. I had, I used smoked tuna and a homemade dressing that was quite good. So my dressing was winning, and then I chopped it all up so that it absorbed the flavor. So it was good. I mean, it was edible. So
Edible.
it was, yeah. I mean, it's. I surprised myself. And then for dessert, I made a tropical trifle with ladyfingers soaked in passion fruit syrup and coconut milk That was good. And lemon curd, marshmallow fluff, which was, I was looking for the fluffy, creamy layer, but it may have been over the top. It may have been too much. And mandarin oranges, it was also tasty. I would eat it. I would eat it camping. I might eat it at home. So, yeah.
Okay.
So we got these hilarious trophies. Mayor Donahue got a steampunked trophy that was totally charming. And I I got a very funny homemade necklace of spoons, a whole collection of spoons. And Sergeant Sims got a necklace of plastic peppers. So it was a good fundraiser. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah.
So the takeaway was, as a cold food chef, you're not just good.
I'm not a total
It's
disaster.
edible.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. How about you? Can you top that?
I cannot top that. I have some things I'd like to share, but they are nowhere near as fun as that. So you got anything in between before I go to my
Nope.
dry stuff?
Take a dive.
Okay, we had a wonderful tour with the Grand Ronde Tribe. Appreciated very much the opportunity to do that. I did commit, if you would pass those down, and actually one of these is for Rachel as well. I wanted to go ahead and do this in a public meeting because I know that eventually the letter of support is going to come before us, and I know our board briefings are pretty packed. So I did commit that I would do the research to determine the cost to the county should this decision be made by the federal government. And so for anybody watching, what the Grand Ronde tribes are working with the federal government to request lands from the Siuslaw National Forest to be given to them and added to their reservation. And these are timberlands for the most part. There are also some recreational facilities that are located in that particular section of timberlands that they are asking for. And as many people know, we have a relationship with the federal government in which when they harvest off of the federal forest, we receive a portion of the revenues. When they have recreational facilities, we receive a portion of the revenues. However, it is also land that is covered by the Federal Secure Rural Schools program. So we only receive receipts in years in which the federal government doesn't do secure rural schools. So my description of this is complicated because there are two possible payment methodologies that give us two different amounts of money, which gives us a different amount of potential, I'm going to say, loss of revenue if these acres do go to the tribe from the federal government. For Tillamook County, we are talking about just over 15,000 acres, which according to the Forest Service, which is where these numbers come from, is just over 17% of what Tillamook County has in federal lands. So we're looking at roughly when you look at SRS, so the Secure Rural Schools Act, which is predominantly how we have gotten paid since 2001 when Ron Wyden put that program into place. So that is not a guarantee to the future, but it's the numbers that you have in front of you because that has been the predominant payment method. So when you look at SRS and you look at the cost, there are three different buckets that SRS gets broken into: Title I, Title II, and Title III. Title I are the funds that come to the county and are also shared with the school district. So that's the largest chunk of money. That Title I gets split 75% to the county, 25% to the school. So that's Title I. Title II are funds that are used for projects on the forest that the county doesn't actually touch that money. And then Title III are the funds that we use for the FireWise program historically and for our search and rescue. Rachel's going to stop me if I get off track here, I'm sure. So what you have in front of you is a document that I received this morning or yesterday late from the Forest Service folks. And what it does is it shows you years 21, 22, and 23 for the SRS payment that came in. And it shows you, based on what they said, the approximately 15,739 acres, or about 17%. So it shows you what the revenue foregone will be if the federal government makes the decision to return the land to the tribes. So to be clear, it is not our decision, but also to be clear, they have asked us for a letter of support. And so while I completely understand and agree that tribes were here before we were, there's a lot of pieces to this, and I'm not asking us to have that conversation today, but I just wanted us to be thoughtful and to be ready to answer any questions from our community related to impacts to the county, should we decide to do a letter of support, should the federal government determine that they do want to return these lands to the tribe. So just the short answer is it's about $57,000 that we would forego in any given year in Title I funds, and roughly $4,500 that we would forego in Title III funds. So that's kind of the financial impact. What I will share is currently with receipts, which we did receive for the last couple of years, that number is much smaller. We have not received a significant amount through receipts. It's been, I think, about a third of what we get through SRS. So.
I appreciate you getting this information. There's other questions I think we all three of us have that we're still exploring.
Yeah.
To try to figure out what the letter of support will or will not say and whether we issue it or not. But again, we don't have the final say, but do you have anything you want to?
In addition to thank you for doing this research, I suggest that we might want to ask for a joint workshop with the tribe so that we can talk with them about this. And also, as I study the map, I realized that if the federal government moves forward with this, that we have Tillamook County citizens who will live adjacent to or surrounded by new tribal lands.
Oh, interesting.
And I wonder if the tribe has prepared any kind of communication plan for that. You know, I try to anticipate the questions our community will have.
Yeah.
And so I think those are things that I would like to talk about before we deliberate on a letter.
Thank you. Yeah, and I would agree.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. The other thing I would point out that I failed to on this letter is it lists the 4 recreation facilities that would also transfer from Forest Service to tribe.
Which are fabulous places to camp.
Fabulous places to camp, and we currently, when we do get receipts, we get shared receipts
Is
off
this
of that.
currently part of our, online yet? Is this part of our, for this meeting?
No, and because I just got it,
Yeah,
found it in my
fantastic. So
email
we
this
will add
morning.
this-
Yes.
We will add this so the public can look at it as well.
100%.
Yeah, and so we're still doing research, a lot of questions. I appreciate that aspect of it as well. But yeah, it was a great tour.
It was a great tour.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
To see the differences. And they made it clear during the tour that, they're open for recreation and hunting and all the stuff that currently you can do on the U.S. Forest Service. They just have a different way of forest managing, doing their management. But they're committed to keeping those areas open and accessible for everyone to use. So I just want to put that in there too.
No, I appreciate that. I think that's an important part of what the decisions that we will be making are looking at the impacts. And it's great to say that hunting, fishing, and recreating are areas that should not be impacted for folks around us. So
For sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
When I moved here, I moved to a place that was in between Niagara Falls Campground and Rocky Bend Campground. And my son and I went and looked at the house. He was in 3rd grade. And we went to Niagara Falls Campground to have lunch. And we sat in that campground and had lunch and talked about if we wanted to move to Tillamook County. And we fell in love with Tillamook County right there at that table, looking at Niagara Falls. We thought, oh, we'd like to live here. Yeah.
I've
It
never
really-
been.
Oh, it's
I drove by it
it's a
on the way
treasure.
back
It's
from the tour,
beautiful.
but I've
Nice
never
hike
been.
too.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that story because I had a similar story of coming here randomly. But my experience wasn't Niagara. My experience was Cape Lookout,
Oh,
the
yeah.
lighthouse.
Gorgeous.
Cape Mears Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Pulled in that parking lot, looked at 3 Arch Rocks, and I'm like, I'm staying. So
Yeah.
anyway, okay. Well, just so you know, folks, we are looking into this, and we're asking all the questions we can before we do deliberate on any kind of letter of support. So yes.
Just to be clear, so would the board like staff to set up a meeting? And if so, is there an urgency to that?
I think so, because they said they would be going to Washington DC in March. So
And our time is limited.
Yeah.
our time is exceptionally limited. So yeah.
early March.
Yeah, maybe early March, and maybe we could go up there again if that's not a hard time, or how, no, you don't like that. You don't like that.
No, no,
I
it's
figure
just,
you're in between most of the time anyway.
no, it's just all up to our schedules as to how we can
Leave that
most
up to
easily
you.
do it, so.
Maybe it could be on a day that people would be in Salem anyway, so.
Or it could be virtual.
Or it could be virtual.
I, I think if at all possible, prioritizing in person would be helpful, because I think that this is partially a relationships conversation along with everything else, and I think part of the hope is that we can build the relationship with our tribal council there, and so if possible, in person would be fantastic. If not, remote is certainly
Okay.
I'm just
an
open to having the
option,
meeting
but-
whichever we can do,
Yeah.
but I prefer
Yeah.
in person too. I think that's always best.
So ideally, in person, all three of you, no later than early March, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
And there are 3 of us and 9 of them, so in that sense, it makes sense to me to go. But if they can come here, that's fine.
Okay.
100%, and I would suggest that if it is my schedule that keeps that from happening, I would be happy to have my fellow commissioners meet with the council in my absence, just because I know that for February, I'm in, I'm out of the office with Washington DC for a full week, and I know that really limits the capability for all of us to be in the same place at the same time. So I put that out there so that maybe Debbie will have at least one hair left on her head when I get back from everything she has to schedule for all 3 of us that I'm putting a big hitch in to get along for.
Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. No other concerns? I'll move on with the
I was
announcement.
just going to
Oh, you've got one more, good.
briefly talk about Salem for the
Okay,
last
please.
2 days. Commissioner Fournier was down there. Wanted to highlight, do you want to talk a little bit about the TLT bill, your testimony?
Yeah, I
thought it
just
was
want to, so
excellent.
folks are, you've got my little cheat sheet here. So folks aren't aware, there are actually 2 bills related to TLT. The one that I testified to was House Bill, Senate Bill, is it House Bill? Yeah, it's still House Bill.
House bill.
4148, which would change the current 70-30 split of TLT, which is 70% for tourism promotion and facilities, 30% that the county has as an unrestricted that we use for our public works and roads. This bill would flip those so that 60% would be unrestricted for county use, 40% would be used for tourism, with the caveat that also, in addition to how it's structured now, we would be able to use it to help mitigate the impacts of tourism. So it's an important bill for us. It's not an increase in any tax. It's simply adding more flexibility for us to use the money for things that impact our community based on tourism. So it gives us more flexibility. So I did testify to that, and my testimony was, I think, unique. You happened to
I
be
thought
there.
it was great. No, I loved it. I hadn't heard you put it that way before, and
Yeah, so
formally, it was great.
So I have this ongoing friendly argument with my friends in the visitor industry where it historically been an us versus them with some of these organizations. And I've been pushing out that we're actually the largest, one of the largest single owners of STRs, of short-term rentals, in the county. We have over 500 campgrounds, camp spots. We have yurts and cabins and RV spaces. And so we are literally a huge stakeholder in the visitor industry. I had Dan Kais from Parks provided me with some wonderful stats. I don't have off the top of my head, but I can say this, but 45,000 night stays per year of people. We have over 1 million visitors. And I did the whole, you can probably recite the bridges, roads, the 316 miles of roads, all of these things that we have to maintain for 27,000 residents, but we have millions upon millions that are visiting us. So my statement was, I introduced it saying I was on behalf of one of the lodging providers for Tillamook County, and I just said, this entity did this and this and this, and at the end said, the entity is Tillamook County. And that our counties like ours, that we don't need to be told the importance of the visitor industry. We understand it. We are tapping into it. We are managing it. We are with an eye always towards livability for locals, right? And spreading out the cost. And so I basically established that because the opposition's standpoint is that you're not transparent and we're not keeping track of stuff, which of course you and I think both rolled our eyes because we are very transparent. Our budget's public. It's audited every year. What's not transparent is the other side. So I just made a point of saying that counties like ours understand the importance of the visitor industry, and we're not going to abandon it regardless of the split, and also that the split is not mandatory for any county or city that doesn't want to change it. So that was basically my nutshell, and that was all in 2 minutes. I have to say that, so.
No, and I thought it was really great. One of the members of the committee had asked at the opening part of this, for those of you who are in support of changing the split, tell me, how you're guaranteeing that you don't hurt your tourism industry, right? Like, why would you keep funding your tourism industry? So it was a really great question on her part and a great answer on Paul's part to be able to say, well, this is exactly why we would not decimate our tourism industry.
Yeah.
It is who we are. We're at the heart of it. So
And
I
think
love
Commissioner
that.
Thompson from Clatsop did the same thing.
She
when
did.
She and hers was off the cuff. That's amazing. That's 3 terms of being a commissioner, I guess. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
She made a point of saying that these other, besides us being a provider, other providers in our counties are constituents of ours, and there are businesses and there are people. So the fear mongering that's going on in the opposition, it's incredible and it's hurtful.
Yeah, they had little buttons that said "Save our jobs."
Yeah,
That they wore during their testimony.
That's the trend now, right? Is to fear, to cause fear and divisiveness. And the reality is, all the testimony I heard, there was not one person that said they want to take that money and completely abandon the visitor industry. And I think that my opinion was, the argument against it were not as strong as the arguments for it. And not just because I'm biased and we want the switch, but I appreciate the compliment. But it was, that's one of the things that was a big one for me. And then the other one was with, there's a bill proposing some provisions for threats against public officials, which is near and dear to my heart and our hearts. Unfortunately, that's a growing problem in society right now, is political violence toward electeds. So I testified on that. And I've also testified on a bunch. This short session, I can tell people I feel bad because I always try to give more. All of us try to give more information about what we're doing and what's affecting us. It's going so fast. It's so crazy, right? I got there, I'm like, I already missed 2 or 3 bills that I wanted to provide testimony that will affect Tillamook County one way or another. And with AOC, we're down there. And when we had our meeting to discuss the legislative committee, what we were going to focus on, some things had already passed the comment session. So maybe if we get them in the Senate, if their House bills, they move to the Senate, we'll have another opportunity. But I want folks to know that if you don't see as much this week, it's because we're either writing testimony or running the Salem. I drove down there twice this week alone. So, that's it. I don't know if you have other bills, if you want to mention specifics. But that was just my biggest focus was the TLT.
Yeah, no, and it was an important one. Did you have a question or comment?
I just wanted to mention that I submitted testimony in writing. So you can also submit testimony in writing up to 48 hours after the actual hearing.
Yes.
And I wish that your in-person testimony had been captured, because you can go in OLS and you can read all of the written testimony.
I submitted it as written testimony as well, so you could see what I was.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Good.
thank you.
Yeah, and the emphasis of mine was to have the discretion to use some TLT funds to do some emergency preparedness for visitors, because visitors are paying that money. It's coming from visitors, and we could direct some of it to emergency preparedness supplies for visitors. And if we don't do that, the majority of our emergency preparedness supplies are coming from volunteer groups, and they are desperately trying to put together programs to protect themselves, their families, their neighborhoods. But what will happen if we have a disaster in the summer is that all the visitors will need those supplies, and it'll be pandemonium. So that's what I wrote about. I wrote about, it's not fair to ask community members to fund visitor supplies. It's not fair. And we certainly don't have excess funds for that. So, yeah. So.
And the only thing I want to mention too was that we were AOC was recognized, Association of Oregon Counties, and all county commissioners were recognized by the Senate yesterday, which was pretty cool.
It was
You
pretty
wanna
cool.
say anything about
Yeah,
that?
it was our 120th anniversary for the Association of Oregon Counties, which, as somebody pointed out, some of the counties have been around longer than the state itself. So,
Including this one.
yes, exactly. So, as counties, we are important partners to the state, and that was really what my day was about yesterday. I spent the day, did the Senate proclamation. We had the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, come and chat with commissioners in the morning, which was great. We did the proclamation midday, and then myself and the leadership team for the Association of Oregon Counties went and met with all different leadership folks from the Senate and the House yesterday. So back to the Speaker of the House, back to the President of the Senate. We went to the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader in both houses, the Ways and Means co-chairs. So just really sitting down with everyone who's in leadership to say, counties are your partner. You know, remember that we're here. Remember that we are your boots on the ground. Remember that when you pass a law, a huge percentage of the time you are passing work on to us, often without funding. So we were nice about it because the point was to develop relationship and to just really remind them that we're all in this together. That as the state looks at some very significant reductions in revenue, to not cut the things that they have mandated to the counties. And Association of Oregon Counties, our lobbyists did a great job of putting together a list of here are all the things that are within cut budgets of departments that will damage what you have demanded of us to be done. And in the conversation with the Ways and Means co-chairs, they identified that none of those items are currently on the cut list, that they have pulled back. And as they are working through that, they are doing their very best to hold counties harmless for those types of projects and programs. So we have our fingers crossed. Of course, anything can happen as it moves through the full session, but we do believe we've been heard in that front. We do believe that counties are going to be as protected as we can be in this short session. We also had conversations about what's to come, because with the changes in HR 1, there are tax changes. There will be a bill coming forward that is what they call a disconnect bill, where the state disconnects certain aspects of the tax system from the federal tax system in order to reduce the impact that otherwise we would be feeling here in the state. So that bill will come forward, but also just talking about what happens in the next long session and the session after that, as we look at the additional impacts of the Medicaid cuts that are coming through, how that impacts things like, in our case, our federally qualified health center. It will impact it directly, our hospital, things that we are partners in. So lots of good conversations, lots of good acknowledgement of counties, and promises to continue to work together. So hopefully that will happen. Also, we had a reception Friday evening, an opportunity to have that same conversation with the governor. So again, just super hopeful that, you know, we're going to be heard and considered as we look at what comes next for counties and for all of us in relation to revenue. So yeah, good couple of days in Salem.
Yeah, I walked away from that presentation feeling pretty proud of it and grateful for being put in the seat. And I feel like we really are making it. If people won't think, you know, what are you doing down there? But it really, you know, let's say 120 commissioners and how many senators? 36 or something?
There's, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so that was mentioned yesterday. We outnumber them. So come on, bring it on.
Been here longer, we outnumber them,
We've been
let's
here-
do this
right.
thing.
So I think that and Senator Nash did do a nice thing where he talked about unfunded mandates. It was a really good speech, which we agreed should be something they should say before every session, reminding them. They went down the list of, you probably have it there, they went down the list of the services the state provides, which was very short. And then the list that the state and county as the team provide, which was a little bit longer. And then what we do as counties, which is tremendously longer. Yeah. And it was real. I just felt like you can't listen to that and then keep throwing unfunded mandates at us. So I feel like that, and it's hard to, just like people online, right? It's hard to look somebody in the face and say, yeah, we're going to make you do this, and we're not going to give you any money. And it's easier. It's a lot harder to do that in person. So I felt a great sense of pride for what we do, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And we're dragging this on, so I'm going to move on to the meetings. We've probably should have done some of this in board briefing, but oh well. Okay, so I'm going to move on to other meetings and announcements. The commissioners will hold a board briefing today, Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 at 2 p.m. to discuss weekly commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners meeting room here, 106 at the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 866-914-607 #. President's Day is an observed holiday for the county and the Oregon State Circuit Court. All county offices in the Tillamook County Courthouse, the Tillamook County Library, administrative offices in the jail and justice facility, Public Works Department, Department of Community Development, Surveyor's Office, Health and Human Services Department and clinics, and the State Circuit Court will be closed on Monday, February 16th, 2026. The Commissioners will attend a quarterly financial workshop on Tuesday, February 17th, 2026, at 12 p.m. The workshop will be held here in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 at the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook. That teleconference number is 1971-254-3149 with a conference ID of 866-914-607 #. There is no board briefing or board meeting or board briefing scheduled on Wednesday, February 25th due to the lack of a quorum. Commissioner Scar and I will be in Washington DC advocating for counties over there. Okay. Unless we have anything else, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 10:41.
And this commentary at this meeting.
Great. I felt you wasn't sure.
No.
Kind of puts it on the table.
That's not for you.
And I think it would be better if we could visit the tribe there. Just in case we want to broach any of the possibilities we talked about